How often do you feel overloaded? Do you find it hard to say no to people and then end up taking on too much? Today, we're going to talk about setting boundaries and how you can use them to drive your effectiveness. Boundaries are a useful tool that you can use to help you to focus on your work, deliver quality results, let others know what you can do, avoid overload and burnout, and to improve your work-life balance. It's surprising how many people go through life with very few boundaries. They're always saying yes to things. They make commitments that they then cannot keep. By doing this, they constantly let people down by not delivering on what they've promised. Have you experienced anything like this? If you have, drop me a comment below. Can you share how it feels to be let down by someone who is too busy to do the work they said they would do? Have you ever overcommitted? How did it make you feel when you could not deliver on your promises? By setting boundaries, you're letting people know what you can do and what you cannot do. You're also letting them know how they can engage with you, how they can ask you to do work. There are many different types of boundaries. Some of these include time, energy, money, knowledge, skills or capabilities, and this is just a few of the common boundaries that you may need to set. Let's take a closer look at a couple of these. We'll start by looking at time. You may decide that you want to spend more time with your family. To do this, you're going to set a boundary on your available time. You may decide that you're going to finish work at 5 p.m. each day. Or you could decide you're not going to work on weekends. When someone comes and asks you to take on an urgent piece of work, well, that may mean you have to work late into the evening, which is going to break your boundary. By referring to your boundaries, you may suggest someone else to do the task. Or you may be able to negotiate a delay to your current workload due to this new priority. Although, let's be honest, isn't everything a high priority nowadays? Another boundary is money. In business terms, the money boundary is often referred to as a budget. This tells you how much money that you have to spend on your project. If you spend over your budget, well, you may run out of money in the bank. Or if you're working on a client project, you may end up spending more money than you'll receive in payment. How long can your business run if you're losing money on every piece of client work? So your boundary here is to monitor that budget. If your client comes and they ask you to deliver some extra work, then your boundary allows you to negotiate with them for an increased payment for the additional effort. The key thing is that boundaries let you set limits and then use these limits to negotiate for changes. So if you need to break a boundary, well, negotiate something in return for it. This could be some extra time off, or an increase in payment, or even moving out the deadlines for other pieces of work. You need to allow for some flexibility with your boundaries, but try and limit these to exceptional circumstances only. Remember, a boundary that is frequently crossed, well, it's not a boundary at all. This flexibility should be limited, but it should be sensible. If your boundary is to finish work by 5 p.m, but an emergency comes up at 4:30 and it needs your urgent input, how do you think you're going to look if you said, well, it's 5 p.m, I'm going? You're not going to look very good at all. In this kind of circumstance, you would need to apply the flexibility and you would need to stay and work until that emergency is addressed. Once you've established a boundary, it's also important that you let other people know. Think about retail. One of a shop's boundaries are its opening times. These are usually displayed so everybody knows when it opens and when it closes. You need to do something similar with your boundaries. Let people know what they can come to you for and also what they can't. If people know you finish work at 5 p.m, then they won't come looking for you after that. Similarly, if they know you're available for emergencies and you've told them what an emergency is, and yes, setting that limit, that's another boundary because you're saying this is what constitutes an emergency, then they'll know the circumstances that they can come to you. This means they're not coming to you without a good reason. It also saves them time because if they know not to contact you, then they're going to go straight on and look at an alternative solution. So far, we've only talked about boundaries for other people. It's also important that you set boundaries for yourself. These are used to help you to keep on track with your whole life. Some personal boundaries may include making yourself wait 5 seconds before responding to comments, limiting the amount of time you spend on social media, spending a set amount of each time each day reading or meditating or some other relaxation activity, setting a schedule for exercise. An example of this can be seen in a reward system. This is where you set a goal, and yes, that goal is another boundary, and then you reward yourself for completing it. As an example, a few years ago, I decided to get fit and lose weight. So I set myself a goal of 5 exercise sessions every week at the gym. The reward? If I got to that weekly goal, I could have a bottle of wine on a Saturday evening, and I like my wine, so I really wanted that. The result? I rarely missed a gym session, and if I did, I would do a makeup session to make sure I got in those 5 sessions. I was motivated by the reward to maintain my boundary. And it worked. In 2 years, I never missed a week without gaining my reward. Have you used the reward system for yourself? If you have, can you share some details below? What was your goal? What was your reward? Did you feel motivated by the reward? So start setting yourself some boundaries now. Use these to focus your work, deliver quality results, let others know what you can do, avoid overload and burnout, and improve your work-life balance. If you need help to identify your boundaries and communicate them to other people, then please reach out to me. We can have a short chat about how I can help you with your boundaries. I also offer accountability sessions to help you keep on track to maintain your boundaries. Please reach out to me on 0415 591 672. I'm based in Australia, so use the international dialing code if calling from another country. You can also email me on gary@nextactions.com.au or visit my website nextactions.com.au. On there, you'll find a link to book a free, short introductory call with me. Do you have any topics you'd like me to cover? If you do, please drop a comment below and I'll add it into my list of upcoming videos. I'll talk to you again soon.